good evening to East China School District's Board of Education meeting. It's Monday, November 23rd at 6 p.m. and we'll start with a moment of silence and Pledge of Allegiance. If you'll stand, please. Thank you. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Hi, everybody. Okay, the next item on our agenda is items of interest, recognition, and inquiry, Board of Education members. And I just have a couple of things I'd like to say. First of all, I'd like to wish everyone a happy and safe Thanksgiving. And I'd like to thank each and every single district employee for really stepping up and going above and beyond to ensure this school year could be the best it could be given the circumstances. And whether our students were virtual or in person, we are thankful for every one of you and all of your efforts. I'd also like to just say a quick mention to our parents, grandparents, the people at home with our students trying to juggle the situation on top of everything else. We also thank you, and we want you to know that you're not in this alone. There is help if you need it, so please don't hesitate to reach out and ask. And lastly, I just want to let everyone know, they probably already do, but on our website we have a home learning resource tab. And on there, there's a section about internet safety tips. I think it's really important for the moms and dads and grandparents. If you get a minute, try to get onto that site and check those resources out. And in particular, there's a TED Talk on there. It's about 17 minutes long. It's a video. It's not too dry, and I think it's well worth the watch. So. Again, have a happy and safe Thanksgiving. Anybody else?
Yeah, I'd like to just take a minute to congratulate St. Clair tennis team for their finishing third in the state this year, and St. Clair cross country team finished 7th in the state this year, and Marine City football team is in the top 8 as we speak. Hopefully they'll get a chance to move a little further than that, depending on how things go. So just congratulations to those teams.
And you know what? I'm really remiss. I forgot to say congratulations to Todd and Pat for their re-election to our school board, and to Mike for his nomination to continue filling the seat that he's in. We're all looking forward to working with you guys going forward, and congratulations.
Thank you. Voted.
I'm sorry. I don't know who said what. Okay, any other board members? Okay, Mrs. Cybula, did you have anything this evening?
Yes, I also wanted to congratulate Pat Liebach, Todd Disrath, and Michael Westrick, who were elected to serve on the ECSD Board of Education. We certainly appreciate your dedication to our students and families in East China School District. We have a lot of fun and exciting things to look forward to as soon as we make our way out of this pandemic. And I just want to thank you for your dedication to this district. And then I just want to also wish everybody a safe and happy Thanksgiving. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, our next item is our consent agenda, and a motion is needed for the approval of minutes from our October 26th regular meeting, the approval of payment of bills, the financial statement, and the schedule of investments.
So moved.
Support.
Okay, all in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Okay, motion carries. So our next item is recognition of persons wishing to address the board. We don't have anyone this evening that's asked to speak, so we will move right on into our information and discussion items. And Mrs. Cybula, our extended continuity of learning plan update, please.
Thank you, President Frank. This monthly update is a requirement of our extended continuity of learning plan. It will be provided each month. And there are a couple metrics that are required for me to share with you. And tonight, at the end of the presentation, we have joining us Justin Westmiller, the Emergency Manager of Homeland Security for St. Clair County, that has been a part of the weekly updates along with Dr. Mercantant, the Medical Health Officer for St. Clair County Health Department. The superintendents, along with Justin Westmiller and Dr. Mercantant, meet weekly to discuss the pandemic recovery and where our county is at. And so I thank him for joining us this evening, and he'll be able to answer questions after I provide you with this required update. So the update on the next slide starts with where our current phase, we're in phase 4. I'm not sure if this phasing is paid attention to as much as it was at the beginning, but that I want to state that that's where we are currently. Our current mode of instruction as of the end of this week, as of November 20th in East China School District, is a 100% virtual option. And for our 9th through 12th graders, that began Wednesday, November 18th, due to the Michigan Department of Health and Human Services order that required us to cease the in-person instruction for 9th through 12th graders on last Tuesday, the 17th. For our pre-K through 8th graders, that's going to begin November 30th. So the entire district will be in a remote learning environment starting Monday, November 30th. The key metrics from the St. Clair County Health Department are shown on the next slide. And I'd like to review those because the significance in their change is what drove us to make the decision that it is time for us to move to the remote learning environment. So last month, when I was providing this update to you, the most recent data would have been from Friday, October 23rd. And the percent of positive tests on that day were 3.8%. And the average number of new cases per day was 23.9. Now, less than a month later, today, the most recent data, which would have been from last Friday, has the percent positive cases at 15.4%. So compared to the 3.8 where we were at a month ago. And the average number of cases per day at 111. And on the right-hand side of the slide, I wanted to show the significant increase in this weekly trend data, these metrics provided to us from the St. Clair County Health Department. So again, on the 10/23, which would have been the last board meeting update, 3.8. The next week, the last week of October, we had a 5.2% positivity rate. First week in November, 7.9. The next week, 13.2. And now, as of Friday, the percent positivity rate of COVID-19 tests was 15.4%. So using that data and looking at the next slide, I wanted to also share with you the weekly two-way interactions, or what is considered the attendance. This is another required portion of the weekly, or excuse me, of the monthly update. So you can see there are percentages starting with that last week in October through this last Friday are well above 90%. So we're right where we want to be with attendance. And we will continue to track that as we remove to a completely remote environment, watching to make sure that we are achieving those two-way interactions for our attendance requirement. And then finally, on the last slide, taking the metrics that we're using to base our decision-making on, the significant increase in the percent of positive cases in our county, the number of quarantined staff and students due to positive tests or contact tracing, which are identifying those close contacts, which has been between 150 and 200 students and staff daily in East China School District, causing significant operational difficulties. And the number of positive cases doubling from last week to the previous week. Taking all of those pieces of information together, East China School District has made the decision to do a full pivot to remote learning that will begin on November 30th, 2020, keeping in mind that the 9th through 12th graders started their remote learning on November 18th per that MDHSS order. Now, I want to make mention here that as soon as we are able, and as soon as in cooperation with the St. Clair County Health Department, that we feel comfortable returning to a face-to-face environment, we will do so. I am proud of this district and what we were able to accomplish over the past 11 weeks in providing a face-to-face instruction and all those opportunities for our students. But it's time for us to make the decision that's best based on the data that we have available for our school district, for our staff, and for our students. So with that being said, I can answer any questions. And just like I mentioned at the beginning of the presentation, Justin Westmiller is here this evening to help answer questions as well. Thank you.
Does anybody have any questions?
I have a question about, you said as soon as we feel comfortable, we will return. I'm assuming, looking at the data that you just presented and all of those numbers heading back to where they were prior, is there a certain level that we're looking at as far as like percent positive tests? Was it 5%? I think I've heard in the past is the number that we look for. What are we looking for exactly?
I think what we'll be looking for are different variables, one of them being the percent positive test. We need to see that moving in a downward direction. That coupled with what is happening in our county with rates at the hospitals and what we're seeing for testing, those are the variables that we'll need to consider before returning to an in-person environment. Which I'm hesitant to put a hard number on it because there's more than just numbers that go into the decision making. But we are going to watch those on a very frequent, weekly, if not more frequent basis to see how quickly we can return to our face-to-face instruction.
So I was looking at the calendar, and with the Christmas holiday, our board meeting is December 14th. Which is a little sooner. And then the next one is 6 weeks after that. And so with the need for monthly reports and with the decision to possibly return falling in that time frame, are we looking at possibly scheduling an in-between meeting in January?
It's possible. Again, watching those numbers is critical to where we're at in our planning. But I think in 3 weeks, we'll look again and see where we're at and see if maybe we do need to schedule an intermediate session. But the monthly reconfirmation or the update will continue into, each month that we move forward with this. But we'll see where we're at. It increased quickly from last month to this month. And we'll see where we're at, 3 weeks from now. That's one thing that we have learned to do, and that is to be vigilant in our watching of what's happening in our county, and to be able to quickly make decisions that are best for the school district.
So when that December 14th meeting comes around, we'll get updated. We'll see where we are, and we can decide at that time if we think we need to schedule an earlier January meeting to look at updates.
Mm-hmm. And you are also provided as in your board update the
weekly board updates.
Yeah. So you'll be continuing, and if anything, if we start to see some trending in a different direction, I'll want to share that right away. So that will be included. If an update needs to come out midweek, we'll do that too. Justin Westmiller has and Dr. Mercantile have been, we are so fortunate in St. Clair County to have two leaders like that to help guide us through this pandemic. I work with some superintendents in other counties, and they just don't have that level of organization within their county for the delivery of the information like we do. We've been very, very fortunate to have the most recent data and the most up-to-date information and for us to move forward. So with that being said, Justin, is there anything that I didn't share in the metrics that you think is important for me to be sharing?
No, I think you've said basically exactly what's happening in the county. Some important numbers. So when we made the decision, I know some of the school districts were, like Marysville was all virtual until October. East China was in school face-to-face from the beginning. But when, just for time's sake, that October 23rd, when we were at 3.2 or whatever it was, we had like 80 some cases per million. Right now we're at 479.9 cases per million, which is obviously an enormous exponential jump. Right now, today, we're at 16.5% positive, and we continue to go up. So until we see, and Doc will tell you the same thing, until we see a plateau and then a fall off, it will be very difficult to staff your schools and not get the adults sick and keep your operations running, at least in my opinion. That's what we've seen so far. You being one of the 3 largest school districts and employing as many teachers and professionals as you do, I think it would be very difficult. I think you made a good decision. And we know that we're going to be bringing a lot of members back into our community that aren't here right now from college and other things. And it's pretty clear to us that they're going to potentially be bringing things into the community. Plus, we know that during the holidays, people are going to get together. You know, we can ask them not to all we want, but human beings like to be together, and we're social, and so this is a really good protection to ensure that we do the best we can for our schools.
Thank you.
All right, thank you so much. Okay, our next item is our summer tax collection. Mrs. Welgars, Tina, Mrs. Group.
Hello, everybody. In order for East China to maintain our summer tax collection, the board is required to pass an annual resolution before the beginning of each year. The resolution that was provided for your review is requesting for summer tax collection for the general operations and the debt fund obligations. This is not including the sinking fund. That is not a legal requirement, so we do not include that. And without the summer tax collection, the district would be required to borrow money from the state to pay for our routine payroll and payment of bills. And as you may recall, the district doesn't receive state aid during the month of September. And with the state aid being received approximately on the 20th of each month, the district is actually without state aid for 2 months for August and October, thus requiring cash flow assistance, which we get from the summer tax collection. Therefore, I recommend that the board approves the resolution at the next meeting in December. I know that this is very routine and you guys are familiar with this, but if you have any questions, I can answer them at this time.
Thank you. Does anybody have any questions? All right, thank you. Okay, our last information discussion item is our temporary remote work policy. Dawn Dimick.
Yes. Good evening, everyone. I just wanted to share with you a new order that was released by my OSHA on October 14th. It is Emergency Rule 5-8 that requires all businesses to adopt a temporary work remote policy, meaning that if your employees are feasibly able to work remotely from home, then they are encouraging that happen. Obviously, that is to reduce the spread of COVID. The rule is in effect for 6 months. So as of right now, it is in effect through April 14th. It requires that we adopt a temporary work remote policy, which we did prepare for you with the assistance of Troom, our law firm, developed a model policy for all school districts to follow. And now that our school district has gone to remote option for our students. We do have to follow the policy with our staff as well to provide them with the option to work remotely. There are going to be cases where our employees will not be able to always work from home, access to confidential records, certain teachers providing direct service to students that are still required under our remote learning plan, as well as teachers that need to come in to use the smart board or may not have the technology at home. So as much as we can, as I said, the rule states as feasible. And so as much as we can, employees will be working remotely under this policy, but there will be times when they will have to come into the office, into school to work. And so this policy has been developed and is being presented for you for adoption and approval this evening because of the short notice given to us by MIOSHA to have this policy in place.
Correct. Okay, thank you. Any questions for Dawn?
Yeah, just to confirm, teachers are allowed to come in, use their smart boards
Yes.
and, yeah, okay.
Yes. So they've all been given.
Open from I'm sorry, Dawn, go ahead.
All teachers were given a form that they needed to fill out to let us know what their schedule would be during the remote learning, whether they'd be working at home or in the building, and then the reason for working in the building if they did choose to work in the building. But yes, they all have been given that option.
Okay, good, thanks.
And Suzanne, can you speak to the fact that the building will be open, all the schools will be open, or Dawn can speak to it, so that the students and the families know that they have that support if they need it? You know?
Yes, absolutely. This is one thing we really want to make this point, and thank you, President Frank, for bringing it up. That we're switching to a remote learning environment. We're not closing as was required of us in March. So all of our school building central office will be open, and there will be people here to help. I know the principals are working on some different options for students who have connectivity problems, and making some labs available. So those are being done through the individual schools, and they're in the development phase right now, but that is a very good point to make. East China School District is open. We're just moving to an environment that will provide us some safe measure while these numbers continue to increase.
Thank you.
Mhm.
Any other questions relating to the temporary remote work policy? Okay, so then we will move on down to item number 6, which is our action item, and a motion is needed for the administration's recommendation that the Board of Education approve the temporary remote work policy in accordance with MIOSHA Emergency Rule 5.8.
So moved.
Support.
Are there any comments or questions? Okay, all in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Okay, motion carries. Thank you. Our next item is items for our next regular board meeting, and that will be the budget revision. And again, I'd like to thank everybody for their hard work on this, and thank you, Mr. Westmiller, for attending our meeting this evening. And again, happy Thanksgiving, and with that, we are adjourned.
Thanks, Jeannie.